Hello ladies and gentlemen, chess lovers, chicos, chicas. This is going to be the next video. We are getting to the tail end of Sholom's tournament, and this is one of my favorite games in some ways. Although, spoiler alert, a painful defeat. But it is going to feature a theme that, in my opinion, a lot of lower-rated club-level players can relate to and feel like, yeah, this is where I'm struggling too. So let's have a look at what happened. In fact, I'm going to skip the opening altogether like an absolute boss. You should never do that, by the way. But I really want to cut to the chase. So, opponent blunders a piece. Actually, I shouldn't skip that because this is vitally important. And so the entire game comes down to, let's convert with an extra piece. Now the problem here, part of the problem was that immediately as this happened, Sholom made a comment here that, okay, so is my strategy just trade pieces down to an endgame? The answer to that is yes and no. And the no part is that, yeah, it's great that we are aware of the fact that we are a piece up and therefore trades favor us. But that does not mean that we can skip all other chess principles. First one being, develop your pieces, right? So just because we have got a policy that favors us and we know that we need to follow that, that doesn't mean that we get to cancel out all the other ones that are very often even more important in chess. So why on earth is Queen D1 even a candidate move when we have got developing moves to play? Castles, knight c6, bishop out. So yes, you need to trade, and no, you shouldn't ignore everything else from here on out. So queen d5, definitely no bueno. Bishop d6, queen a4 check makes very limited sense. Bishop d7, queen h4. And here we made a tactical oversight, playing queen e6, thinking that they can't castle. Now this should be an insta lesson, like instantaneous for life. And that lesson sounds like this. When you are trying to get cute with a pin on an open file without your king being castled, half of the time you are going to be the one who is getting tricked. Because the pins work both ways. So this would be all perfectly fine if our king was castled. But this is a total lack of spider senses and a very naive move. Sorry to be blunt, thinking that, oh, they can't castle. The very first thing every single chess player should do when setting up a tactical trick that is based on the idea of, if I go here, they can't do blah. The first thing you look at is that, what if they do play blah? If you don't do that, you're just not part of the game. You're not doing the most important thing. Because the only purpose of this move is to stop castling. So a bad player, he would go like, it stops castles. A good player would go like, I'm playing this in order to stop castles. Let's see what happens if they castle. And that's already 500 rating difference right off the bat. That you just go like, okay, so castles, queen e2, rook e1, sucks to be me. Queen e6 makes no sense. Next, knight c6. And by the way, this shouldn't be a candidate move anyway, really, because we are not done with development. But anyway, not a biggie, but it just really feels like, oh man, really? And it was such an easy mistake to avoid by utilizing the mindset that I just told you then. Queen e4. I don't mind this move too much. Let's get this awkward queen out of the way. Take, bishop c4. Knight f6, don't understand this move at all. Like, bishop c4 introduces the idea of a pin, right? It pins the knight to the king. Is my knight well placed? Yeah. Is my king well placed? No. So which one am I gonna move? The well placed knight or the misplaced king? That was a very, very silly error. Yep, so knight f6 was played, castles. Now we have to dance back into a pin. Knight c6, great. Bishop f4, castles, and knight e5. Now, this I think is a good point to stop. Because here, the rest of the... Actually, I will play one more move. Take, rook e8 and rook e3. This is a good moment to stop. And unfortunately, it takes a little bit of an experienced player to realize that this is a bit of a key moment where you can't just continue playing on based on principles, because there are a few tricks that are about to hit us. Rook e3 loudly and very obviously telegraphing, announcing, call it whatever you want to call it, that they want to play rook e1 next and exert pressure on the e file. And we need to find a simple, effective way to deal with that, because once we eliminate this pressure slash spin on the e file, inevitably trades will begin to take place on the e file, which is our way to victory. So what I would do here would be something like this. Even after doubling up, bishop takes f6 is not a threat, because after bishop takes, my bishop is guarding the rook, so I have got sufficient defenders. So what I would like to do is to, let's say, play bishop c6. It's definitely an improvement on the bishop. It allows me to move the knight here too, by the way, or back. And after rook here, now I really want to make this bishop go anywhere at all so that we can start trading. Now, I can't really do that. I would like to play bishop d6, but I can't because it's not guarded. So let's go rook d8. Funny that, last piece into the game. So this is how, and I keep on telling you this, that the most logical moves almost always turn out to be the one that actually fits into what we want to do anyway. Like in this position, rook d8 is the most natural move to play by far, even if you don't see that you want to play bishop d6, because it brings the last piece into the game, it puts pressure on the pawn, yada yada yada. And now, no matter what white does next, we are, let's just for argument's sake, play a pass, bishop d6, and bring on trades. And I cannot care less about double pawns. I'm a piece up, so I can afford 7 sets of double pawns, or 8 of them. That's not even possible in Crazy House, I reckon. So yeah, you get the point. And here we are beginning to drop the ball because we don't have a clear vision, aka win condition, referred to my endgame video about win condition, of what is the cleanest way to mop this up. And that is to eliminate this e-file tension by trading off the bishop and then start trading the rocks. This move serves no purpose of that kind. Not a bad move because it's a tempo, so we can still adjust now. But now is the time when we are beginning begin to play moves that I just don't understand. Like, why is c4 a plan? Like, it does nothing. And by the way, general rule of thumb is that when you are up material in an endgame, you trade pieces, not pawns. That's actually your opponent's job, is to trade all the pawns. Because if we took all the pawns off of the board, it would immediately be a draw. Because then your extra piece is very unlikely to succeed. And yeah, that's it. We want the pawns on. We need the pieces off. So this is just a fundamentally wrong concept strategically. Yeah, and it happens to be a blunder too, although it does allow us to trade off pieces, which is good news, but it should have happened without shredding material. Now here, after bishop takes f6, an extremely common mistake of playing checkers instead of chess, we don't have to retake. Why don't we just shield off the e-file, make both of these completely useless, and carry on with our winning plan, which now would be slightly altered, but after takes, the tension is gone, the pressure is gone, and now we can just play a quiet, clean endgame. It will require now good technique, but nonetheless, it's very simple to play. Instead, we took with the pawn, allowing this, which now is very difficult to win, for sure, but doable. I don't understand the backward move, especially because after f3 we played king f8, which is correct, but that begs the question of why don't we play king f8 right away? Because you want to eliminate the active rook. Now this is not really doing too much, and our rook, after some rerouting, will become a boss. So this was definitely needed. This is a very passive retreating move, no bueno at all. Now king f8, good, trade, and now we have got an endgame, once again, very tricky to win, but I do think that this is winnable. Now let's see how we went. This is all good. Sholom here, by the way, is referring on multiple occasions to a video I made about how to stop connected pass pawns with the bishop. Unfortunately, he relied a tad too much on it. But let's see what happens. King e6, that's fine. b3, f5, definite no bueno. Comment. Okay, so I didn't remember if I wanted my pawns on light squares so my bishop can protect them, or off light squares so as to 1. Lock opponent's pawns on white squares, and 2. Give me maximum mobility for my bishop. What's frustrating here is that I knew I should do the latter, but during the game I couldn't remember. Well, that's a problem if you can't remember, but the simple answer to this question is that why do you want to defend your pawns? Like, we want to attack pawns, not to defend them, right? So you definitely want your pawns on black, forcing your opponent's pawns on white, and then away we go. I mean, if we imagine that you put all your pawns on white and the opponent's pawns are all on black, how on earth are we going to win? I mean, technically there are ways to sneak your king in and create some Zugzwang scenarios, but then your bishop is drastically reduced in its power and ability to cause trouble. So always, almost always, the very few exceptions when you have got only one bishop, you should aim to put the pawns on the opposite color. Luckily your opponent is playing very, very poorly here too. Yeah, that was not necessary. A horrid move, making the pawns like this, because now if we get to play king d6 and a5, then we manage to blockade the pawns. They are rigid and they are all on the bishop's color. Like, this is horrid. And this is, by the way, apologies to all of you, to those who are a little bit sensitive, but this is textbook case of 1300 level of chess, that people do more harm to themselves than what black in this position could inflict upon them. Yeah, like, I can't really hurt you here with anything instantly. This does more damage than 5 of my strongest move could. So be very careful with where you push your pawns and how you do them. The optimal pawn layout would be a3, b4, c5. When, yes, the bishop can move between them or amongst them and they are blockaded. Actually, I wouldn't push the c1. I would keep it here, because then the pawns cover every single square. And black can make hardly any progress at all. This is, however, awful. King d6, great. a5 had to be played, because otherwise I play a5 and that's not going to be pretty. And b4 drops the pawn. Perhaps the check was to be considered, but that looks a bit shaky too. a6, h5, another pawn on the wrong color. White is really doing our job here. h6, finally the correct square. And his c5 is, although technically putting the pawn on the correct square, but the problem for white here is that now this pawn chain is completely blockaded. Like, it's just totally stuck, and now white is virtually out of the game. It's over. And Sholom started to feel good here, according to his comment. And now I have, the comment is, I think I've successfully stopped all the queenside pawns. I remember seeing this type of setup from chess coach Chandrash's video, bishop versus connected passes. I just have to figure out how to make something happen on the king side, and I've got this. No, you don't. The only thing that you need to do here is nothing, with a capital N. And very often chess players don't realize it, that there is a point in endgames where you just need to do nothing and your opponent will run out of moves. So this is a textbook case. Your opponent played here g3, and all you need to do is just to pass. And you are going to get in. Like, pass. This actually forces this king here. Go back. And ta-da! White ran out of moves. Now they have to go back, and you start penetrating whichever way you want. And literally, from here on out, you're going to win every single pawn, if you wish, free of charge. But you can just simply mow down the queen side and promote this pawn. Like, this doesn't, endgames don't get easier than this. That we just blockaded every single pawn, and we go like, okay, bro, show me what you got. And they go like, well, I've got nothing. Of course they have nothing. That's it. You just needed to realize here that white has no moves left. And that's a very common phenomenon when you have an extra piece in an endgame against a few pawns, but said pawns have been blockaded, rigid, can't make progress. Just that's it. Back, see ya, see ya, see ya. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing white can do here. It's over. Unfortunately, instead we played king f6, which, like, you can't, like, yeah, that is a tactical blunder. That is a tactical blunder that can easily cost you a full point. And the comment is that as soon as I played this, I realized that I messed up. I thought all the queenside moves were stopped, but suddenly I realized that the king d5, he could make some progress. And then here I'm quoted that I didn't use the kings in the example. That is true. However, that was to model how to blockade the pawns, but you can't disregard the fact that kings are on the board. Yeah, king d5, this is inexcusable. It's like, oh man, we worked so hard for this win and now we are throwing it away. Anyway, now this is getting real rough. c6 is still a mistake here. King e5 I think is the way to go. King d8, king d6, king c8. I'm not so sure about this move. This looks to me like panic. Because again, the question you need to ask yourself is that what's White's plan? Because this is not a plan. If c7 I just go here. And as soon as they run out of moves, the pawn drops. So this is totally unnecessary. And in fact, for the second time, we are making the exact same mistake that we move away with the king, allowing access to the opponent's king. And that shouldn't be happening. Now, the win here is very difficult. So it was already a toughie. And actually, king c8 is the engine's second choice. And it's still marginally better. f4 is the Mighty Machine's top recommendation, with the idea that if takes, then we can go f5. And now white seems to run out of moves. If king here, then the bishop starts pinching all pawns. Oops. But this is really tough. So I actually don't want to go into this. I will say as much that this doesn't seem to me to be logical, because it allows the opponent's king to munch on pawns. And now things are becoming quite hairy. Is that how it went? Oh no, they played c7! Oh man. Why don't we eat just all the pawns now? Hello? And this is, by the way, the greatest weakness of Sholom's chess right now. And this is what needs to change. Every single time there is a crossroads where this leads to defense, that leads to attack, Sholom will choose defense every step of the way, not even consciously. I dare say that it has been engraved or burnt into his subconscious to defend everything before we think about action. And chess doesn't work that way. Like, what's the point of defending something it's not even hanging? That's a very wasteful way to think about chess. As soon as you defend stuff that is not hanging, you're wasting the power of your pieces. Here, this is a total pass. And a very meaningless one too, because white's idea is not to hunt these. They want to take this. And bishop e2 just would have immediately mop up. Like, there's absolutely nothing again that white can do. Like, they actually are going to lose every single pawn here. Just like earlier, I come here, and tada, zugzwang. Again, the king has to go. I will take this. I munched everything. I very highly recommend, by the way, to players who feel really, really unconfident about their ability to convert something like this, to set it up from here against Stockfish and beat it on level 5, then 7, then 10, or whatever the highest setting is, until you can confidently beat the heck out of the engine. Yeah? And if you are struggling, I recommend that you flip it around and you try to defend it against the engine and see how it beats you. And then you practice it back, forth, so that you gain confidence in your ability to convert this. Because here it was just like a complete free win given to us for nothing. And instead we just like, yeah, let's defend stuff. No, let's not. Anytime your driving force is defense, by the way, in positions where it doesn't seem to be warranted, oopsie, wrong button, almost certainly you are making a tremendous mistake. Okay, so the way we lost it, by the way, was quite tragic. So here Sholom resigned, which was a very premature resignation, but it's difficult to see how the bishop still has the power to stop the pawn. Now, the way it's done is that we play f6 takes and we play f4. And the irony is that after gf4, bishop f7, actually white still needs to fight for this draw. It is a breathtakingly beautiful Zugzwang where the king has to move away from the h5 pawn. And the only reason why this is a draw, by the way, believe it or not, is because we have got the so-called wrong corner in relation to the bishop side pawn. Because what's going to happen in this endgame is that all pawns are going to drop on white side. We are going to lose this. And so we were going to try to promote this, but the white king is going to come back and we can't do too much about this. So what it looks like is something like this. f5, let's say king d6, king here. I'm now trying not to lose this too hard. Here, here, here. King g6, bishop e4, king g5, king e5. By the way, this setup tells me that white is going to find it difficult to get here. But after f6, king e6, if I just run for the heels, yeah, and I made it back. Ooh. Yeah, for some reason, the engine thinks that this is... Oh! Okay, there is a trick here. I didn't prepare for this video this deeply. So there is an idea here to win for black. This is really cool. So the idea to win this is that if they run down to the corner, you do not take. Don't do that. That's a draw. But what you can do is to chase the king out of the corner and then take when they cannot go back. Although even here it's... No, now I think I can take it. It's still... I'm not sure if it's a theoretical win. But the point is that after king a1, you stalemate the king. They push this. And now you no longer have a side pawn. And then you simply release the stalemate and you win. But long story short, white can draw this. I'm 100% certain. But it's white who is fighting for the draw. Hello? So, yeah. No one has ever won a game by resigning, right? But at least it was well worth a try to put all those pawns out of the way. And then bring this bishop back to attack this guy. And see how we go. But I think that the greatest lesson in this video, well, probably more than one, but one of them was to find a crystal clear plan here to neutralize your opponent's initiative. That was one. Two, when this endgame occurred with the with the pawns all being rigid and blockaded, calm down, because he said in his comments that he felt he was in the driving seat. When that happens, you calm the farm, take your time, and figure out the cleanest win. Which is virtually any bishop move. From here on out, as long as you just keep on shuffling with your bishop, you're going to land in a winning position that is just literally... You can't stuff this up. The only way to ruin this is to do this and allow the king in. And from here on out, the rest was really messy. But once again, I think there were a lot of takeaways in this little video about what to focus on when we are trying to convert a game with extra material. On that note, guys, we are going to call it now a day. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the support as always. Please don't forget to smash the like button, the subscribe, the... What else is there? You can super thank me if you like. Thank you for those who do that. And I'm going to see you in the next video soon. Thank you.